tonight we're here to discuss one of those factors, faith. Faith, I believe, is key to unlocking healthy solutions to integration and creating safe spaces like this one for healthy interfaith dialogue about human rights and migration is key to developing communities where refugees can rebuild their lives and where they can live into their full potential in the same way that you are having the experience of being able to live into your full potential. Here I think it's important to mention that we say 50% of refugee children have access to primary education. That number drops to 25% for secondary education. And only 1% of refugees have access to tertiary or higher education. So I consider myself very lucky to be in this room with you tonight and having this conversation.
You look into her
I think that the importance and necessity of building a proper public space for women cannot be further underestimated. And just speaking, especially for women in the West, and especially those coming as refugees or immigrants for several different reasons. They should not be marginalized. Actually, they need to become part of a wider society, and at the same time they should find a way, if they wish, to maintain their own religious and cultural affiliation and traditions. Why I think it's so important to stress the aspect of inclusivity, to include these women in the Western society or in the Western society in which they come to live. I think, in my opinion, the reasons are maybe two, and one is involve women's rights as a human being, and also the other aspect I think is related to the new generation as well. First of all, women as human beings have got the right to develop their own personality according to their skills, and to be fully individual. And in order to be a unique person that actually independently from the gender they belong to. So this is a basic human right that goes beyond the specific gender. And secondly speaking, the improvement of women's rights, which involves the rights to education, easy access to all public space, employment, and healthcare, will affect positively the new generations.
I'm working as a cultural mediator in the reception centers all around the room with the asylum seekers and refugees. I had a great opportunity to share our life experience and hard times, as well as I learned a lot about their cultures, religions, and languages. Being a refugee and confronting myself with the asylum seeker and refugees every day, I can guarantee that nobody would leave their country and families, especially at the earlier ages, if their lives were not in danger and if their country was not under a war. This thing I can guarantee for everybody, because I had a lot of experience. I meet a lot of immigrants from different countries, Afghanistan, Pakistan, Iraq. I can speak with them. I know their cultures.
I'm supposed to stop talking now, but I'm just going to carry on for a bit more. But just to say that, you know, we don't come to general conclusions about Belgium or what Belgians are like the way we do about Muslims or about Islam. Okay? And I want to suggest that, and I want to leave you with this thought, that one of the key problems for us in Europe today when we think about Muslims and Islam is we tend to describe Muslims and Islam in what I like to call simple declarative sentences. All Muslims are supposed to commit violent acts for their religion. Simple declarative sentence. All Muslim women are oppressed. Simple declarative sentence. And we think that's the truth. Right? And we use this about Muslims and Islam in the way that we don't about ourselves, our cultures, our own religions, our own nations. And The trouble with simple declarative sentences is they give us information about some kinds of empirical data, and that's fine. Those are indisputable. So for example, I can make a simple declarative sentence which no one will dispute: an iPhone is cooler than a Samsung. Indisputable, right? There's no debate about that. But when we come to talk about human beings and human persons, back to the mystery of encounter, of relationship, simple declarative sentences get us nowhere. So, and I hope we can explore that later on this evening, but also as we go on thinking about persons, about religions, about relationships, simple declarative sentences are not the grammatical structures we should use. We should give ourselves the chance to ask this rich culture, this rich phenomenon of Islam and Muslims around the world, what is there that I can encounter there in relationship and mystery that I've never given myself the chance to do up to now? Thank you.
Before answering to your question, I would like to read a poem. It's not a long poem, it's just 4 lines. I'm reading it because thinking about it, I'm sure some of you studied medieval history or even modern history have heard about Andalusia, the Andalusian civilization, which for 700 years was a beacon of light where Christians, Muslims and Jews lived in relative peace. And many of us don't know that it was actually established by an immigrant, a king actually. You know, Arabs, I've been working to challenge the negative images of Arabs and Muslims for a long time. So if I make this statement about Arabs, I don't think that's going not to be considered as politically incorrect. As you know, many of us know, we jokingly say that one of the extracurricular activities of Arabs is killing each other, They've been doing it for a long time. So what happened, they did it also around 750. So they completely massacred the last Umayyad king in Damascus. All the royal family members, almost everybody was killed except one young person who was an 18-year-old man called Abdurrahman. So Abdurrahman, just like in Syria, actually he ran away from Syria, Damascus, like many of the immigrants today ran away from Syria, crossed all Africa and crossed the Mediterranean and reached Spain. So he established this Andalusian Muslim experience. So he was 18 when he reached Andalusia. So he just, by the time he was 50, 60, he was old, but he really made beautiful civilization. Then he wrote this small poem. I haven't read it in Arabic. I'm reading in Italian translation. I haven't seen the original Arabic. Abdurrahman writes, looking at a palm, it is written an ode to a palm tree, which they brought from Syria. A palm tree stands in the middle of Rusfa. Rusfa is a small garden he made in Cordova, a retreat. A palm tree stands in the middle of Rusafa, born in the west, far from the land of palms. I said to it, how like me you are, far away and in exile, in long separation from family and friends. You have sprung from soil in which you are a stranger, and I, like you, am far from my home. I think this poem, in a way, captures the nostalgia of Abdurrahman, who came to Andalusia as an 18-year-old refugee and to establish this brilliant civilization in 30 years, but still he kept some longings for his country. I think many immigrants feel that longings, the lost, Then palm trees they bought. In Andalusia they brought palm trees and they dig all these canals and all these things. But at the same time, there is also a positive thing about this poem when he say, you have sprung from soil in which you are a stranger. At the same time, you have got a root in the strange land.